Good morning. The one vital attribute, the one that separates the exception from everybody else, the attribute of the 3%. 3%ers who go on to create extraordinary wealth, security, and financial independence for their families. It's the attribute of stick to itiveness. Let me pass on the story of Bob Parson, the founder of GoDaddy Group of companies. It provides an excellent example of stick-to-ness, of which will inspire you on this motivated Monday as you begin and kick off your week. So Bob grew up in the inner city of Baltimore and he watched his family struggle financially. And after nearly flunking out of high school, Bob enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and he did a tour to Vietnam and was medically evacuated from the battlefield. So that was the humble beginnings of Bob Parson, the founder of GoDaddy, how he began his journey. He spent 2 months at Naval Hospital recovering from his wounds, and before he could return back home, he was hospitalized. In 1984, Bob tried to sell some software that he wrote, and he bought some ads, small ads, hired an answering service, and after the first day, he called the service and asked, how many people called in? How many calls came in after the ad was launched? And to his surprise, they said zero. That was what he got the reply. That happened day after day, and he lost all the 15,000 US dollars he had put in the process. And to the business, and this was in the first year. The next year, he used 25,000 US dollars bonus from his real job and then lost all of that again. But he kept trying, and eventually the business shot off, took off. It was a typical core and core success story. 10 years after he founded it, he sold the Parson Technologies to into it for 64 million US dollars. And now 3 years after the earnout of the deal, he had 35 million US dollars to invest surplus with him. It was dot com boom era, and so boom Bob founded what would later be known as GoDaddy. So that was how the GoDaddy hosting company was launched. And early on, GoDaddy burned through lots of cash when he started it. All his cash, in fact, I would say. And he had no partners. Bob kept saying to himself, he would worry about it when his cash file is would go below 30 million US dollars. And then it's 25 million, and then it was 18 million, and then it was 12 million, and then it was all the way down to 6 million. And then he decided to shut the business down, and while he still had some of the money left from the Parson Technology deal. So that was what Bob Parson at the time was going through. So Bob went to Hawaii to be alone, yeah, and he needed to figure out how to wind down the business and pay all the creditors and the employees at the same time. And without being sued in the process. That's what his biggest concern was at the time. And one day, while in Hawaii, epiphany happened. The guy who parked his car would not have been happier. He thought This boy is probably broke, but he is happy like nobody. And here I am with 6 million US dollars in my bank account, and I am miserable. And it was that moment when Bob that he would not he decided he would not shut GoDaddy. He decided if it did not work out, he would park cars like this boy or work as a stickman at the crafts table in Las Vegas. And he said that to himself. So he strapped himself to the mast, and if the company sunk, he would also go down with the ship. That was what Bob said. And Bob said, accepting the worst that can happen is something I also learned as a combat marine when my during my service in Vietnam, he said. So it's very empowering because it helps you let go all of the debilitating worry and the causes of worry in your mind. Sticking with it, surviving the dark burst, Bob finally became cash flow. And he became a cash flow positive in October 2001. In July 2011, Bob sold 70% of GoDaddy for a huge pile of cash. GoDaddy is now worth more than 12 billion B US dollars. Bob Parson, a former high school flunky, is now worth over 3.4 billion US dollars. He has given away more than 230 million US dollars for the last 10 years in charities and joined the Giving Pledge along with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. So, one of the greatest lessons here are this, and this also comes from an old Chinese proverb, which is the temptation to quit will be the greatest just before you're about to succeed. The temptation to quit will be the greatest just before you're about to succeed. And this is true not only in entrepreneurship, but in most of the things in our life. In your health, in your relationships, and in your skill development. Sometimes just knowing that's true and just remembering that this is the fact of the events, that it will keep you straight and narrow to stick to it and continue. Remember, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. Keep in mind, the dawn is coming, and dawn is coming, and keep persisting. As the temptation to quit rises, and it will rise, just stick with it.